to give it just a minute. I will go like this when it's ready.
I can't see. There you are.
Yeah.
The June 23rd meeting of the Richmond Sanitary District.
No, it's
No?
not ready. I will do that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Wasn't clear.
The June 23rd meeting of the Richmond Sanitary District.
No, it's
No?
not ready. I will do that.
Oh, okay.
It's
That was odd. Okay, are we ready? The June 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Richmond Sanitary District Board of Commissioners is called to order. The first item of business is to open for a public hearing on the West Side Interceptor Basin Improvements Preliminary Engineering Report. And we will turn it over to Elijah for that. Oh, wait, we forgot to do a roll call. Sue Miller here. You want to do the Hutton Room?
do what?
Just tell her.
Just state your name, I think, for the record.
Jessica Foster.
Greg Staines.
Pat Smoker. Walt Chittister.
Aman Bakshi.
Elijah Welch.
Emily Palmer.
I think we got everybody there. Okay, now we'll turn the public hearing over to Elijah.
Yeah, so I have a short presentation. I will share my screen here. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is this project is our West Side Interceptor Basin Improvement Project, and we'll just be giving a brief overview of our preliminary engineering report, which was submitted to SRF. So as part of the PER, or preliminary engineering report, there's several different chapters that are required. So we go through project location, our current situation, future situation, evaluation of alternatives, basically looking at, you know, what kind of different projects could we build to accomplish the goal in mind. Then evaluation of environmental impacts, ultimately select a plan, and then go over legal, financial, and managerial capabilities for that. So that's what gets included in each PER. So our current situation versus future situation, we created a hydraulic model at the beginning of this design to evaluate the flows currently in the system. We look at that both during dry weather and wet weather. We don't want to put something out there that's too big that creates a maintenance issue during dry weather, but at the same time, it needs to be large enough to handle those wet weather flows where we see that increase need for capacity during heavy rain. So that model allows us to capture several rainfalls with our flow metering, and then evaluate and scale it for different rain events. And then we also look at potential for new development in the system or in that basin. And this one is probably a little bit different than most that we see. Usually there's, you know, some bare ground and availability for development in the area, where this has really been fully developed. So there's not a lot of future development anticipated. We do look at things though, you know, there's been talk and discussion on, are the rainfalls that we get now different than what they have been statistically in the past? So we're always looking at, is our project design, the selected alternative, give us any extra capacity, or is it just right on the line of what we're saying we need? And so we've tried to be good about any of the projects we've designed or built, to make sure we have some room for not only growth but room for rainfall changes and things like that. So there's usually been a little extra capacity in those situations, because it's much cheaper now to increase a pipe size by one size versus having to rebuild something, especially when we're talking a sewer that's going to last 75 to 100 years. Now is the better time to look at those types of things. So we've done that. This is a project that's part of our CSO long-term control plan. And it's one that deals with the potential for SSOs, as we'll see in a picture here in a second. So this is, you've seen the slide before, but the west side interceptor goes from just below the high school on the west side of the river, at which point it goes underneath the river and back up to our east side interceptor. And then it goes all the way up north to Sheridan Street, near the railroad underpass up there on Sheridan Street. So it's really extensive piece of interceptor. We looked at some slope stabilization as part of that, SSO remediation. You see over here on the right side, a picture from past overflow event. So these are all things that we're looking at accomplishing or fixing as part of this project. So, like I said, we look at different alternatives. So we had come up with essentially 5 alternatives, no action alternative plus 4 other projects. We evaluate the capital cost, basically the construction cost of each of those. Then we look at what's going to happen to O&M for each of those scenarios. What's the salvage value at the end of a 20-year period? Basically, we're looking at the life of the project. What's the cheapest in the long run? And alternative 2 ultimately was selected as the cheapest, and the alternative that we chose. The other, and I'll get to exactly what that is here in a second, but it ranged anywhere from alternative 4 was a complete replacement of the entire west side interceptor where it is now, to some form of partial replacement and a siphon, new siphon or multiple new siphons that go over to the east side in different locations, along with some lining. And that's essentially what alternative 2 is as well. So this is our selected plan, alternative 2. And as you can see, can you see my mouse or not?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So there is the current west side interceptor goes down along here, and ends here, and this is that siphon that goes over to the east side interceptor. So this plan will line a lower portion of the interceptor, and then we will abandon a fairly large section of the interceptor through here. And so we're going to pick up some of these smaller sewers that come over and tie to the interceptor, basically north of north or south A Street, so near Main Street, and we're going to take that back north up to this point, and then we're going to take these sewers up here and bring them down to that same point right here. And this is the new siphon. There's 2 new barrels, a 10 and 18-inch siphon that will come over and go into essentially structure 310 from the east interceptor that was built several years ago. If you remember, we looked at increasing the size of the east side interceptor when we built it from 48 to 54 inch. And by doing that, that gave us the capacity we needed to be able to transfer flow over here earlier. So that was a good move that worked out well for us from the east side interceptor project. But by moving some of this sewer back away from the slope, we've essentially been able to get rid of a lot of the slope stabilization that went along with this project, and been able to kind of minimize what we had to do. So it ended up, I think, working out well as far as getting rid of some of the long-term risks associated with the slope of the gorge, and getting the flow up and across to an area that made sense to be able to do that. So,
Elijah,
yes,
so on the extreme southern end, you're going to reline it,
correct.
but then that large section that's marked to abandon, part of it's not included with the new. What happens to that between A and, I don't know, it's like down there by the high school?
Yeah, in this area right here.
Correct.
Yeah, so that area, there's actually no connections to the sewer in that location, which is why we were looking at, how do we minimize the work that we do? So we were able to essentially remove a large portion of work in this area, get rid of it from the slope, and basically take the flows from this area north. And then this was, I guess, the first connection going south right here by the school. It comes out, so we're going to start there, pick up there, and basically rehabilitate the existing sewer down here. There's plenty of capacity for that, so that's why we were able to abandon that section in the middle. Yep. So here's a schedule, and this one had kind of been a moving target, I guess, to some extent. But the idea behind applying for SRF funds is kind of twofold. But the main reason to move forward with doing that was the potential for some kind of stimulus money. So this project was far enough along that it sounded like it was a good candidate for some potential money that we think is likely going to come down the pipeline here over the next 6 months or so. So this put us in queue to be able to get some of that and take advantage of anything that might come out, whether it be lower interest loan or hopefully some type of forgivable portion to an SRF loan. So we'll see what that ultimately looks like, but we've made that first step of applying, and this is just a part of that, going over this PER and getting a chance for public comment on that, and ultimately getting approval on this PER to move forward. So the way we have the construction sequence or the sequence for the project set up right now is we have the potential to close here by the end of the year. So that's what we're looking at. There is a portion of this that coincides with some work on a connector trail between the Cardinal Greenway and Veterans Park. And so at the very least, we know we need to move forward with that portion of the work. So that's the other reason that it basically we're shooting for a December closing, which means we could start construction first thing next year with that and not impact the trail work. Basically, to be able to put that part of the project in, and then the trail would go over the top of that. So. Any questions on schedule?
Here.
Nope. So then this is a cost estimate. And so total construction cost with contingency is right at about $7 million. This is more than what was originally planned in the long-term control plan. But with construction cost increases and as the scope gets more and more detailed and finalized, this is what it comes out to be. So the loan application includes that $7,024,200 plus $1.307 million of non-construction cost for a total estimated cost of $8.331 million. And again, an asset management plan is required for this funding, which is, we've been working on that. That was a requirement for our aeration project as well. So we've been working on getting that finalized and working on that. The COVID-19 issues have kind of slow down the software purchase, but I think we're to the point here in the next month or so, we should be able to move on that again and get some of that finalized. But we've been working on some of the data and things that go into that, and we'll have that ready in time for them. So then that's really it. That's just a brief summary of what the PER has in it, the project and some of the alternatives that we looked at. And does anybody have any questions on that? I'd be happy to answer those, or we can go to public comment here and see if anybody else has anything.
Elijah, when was the long-term control plan last updated?
The last update was in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, so we try to update those costs. We kind of keep a running spreadsheet of things, but you still have, until you get that final scope, the long-term control plan is a planning document with some very, very high level ideas. But once you get into actual design and, flow metering and things like that, we've just found that the scope has changed, and so we struggle.
I had a 2007 copy here at home, and I was surprised by the increase, but not surprised by the cost of, and obviously the dynamics of the community change and the needs change as well. So at some point in the future, I guess I'd like to bring out the long-term control plan and sort of see, where exactly, what projects we have completed, where we are on it. I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I'll work on something and we'll do an update here in the next, month or two. I'll get all the projects that we've completed with, and then as well as what's left and kind of the schedule for that. So yeah, that I'd be happy to do that. We'll do that here soon.
The other question I have, or comment I guess I have, is obviously with social distancing and everything, how are we, letting people know that they could participate in this public hearing? And is it, do we have, what's our time frame? If we told people that they could go out and see it on YouTube and get back to us within some time frame, would that still work? Or is it just today or nothing?
No, they have 5 more days after today to make public comment, and you can send those directly to my attention at 2380 Liberty Avenue, Richmond, Indiana 47374. But we just have to receive those by June 28th. So as part of so there's notice that goes in the paper and online for this meeting, but then as well some of the permitting and things like that, all those adjacent landowners also get notified as well. So
they have been notified that.
Yes, let's see. Some of them have. How is that? I mean, I'm trying to think where we're at on this one. I don't think that it's went out. I don't think that comment has went out. So that there'll be a later comment period just for the construction side of things. This is more on the funding side of it, kind of a different group of comments, but there'll be another period for all those adjacent landowners to have some opportunity to respond as well.
Are we anticipating? I was trying to make my map bigger here because I had pulled up the booklet that you sent. Obviously, we're in a very more densely populated area to do this construction. Are we going through streets? Are we going to have to get easements from people?
So we've identified 2 likely easements that we'll be contacting people about, as well as one other location where we're abandoning up in, let's see here, along this area. We're abandoning the sewer, but there are few buildings that their laterals connect down to the other line. So we're looking at having to reroute those along with, I think there's an easement up in this area. Actually, I think there's only one easement now. I think we were looking at two. No, there's two easements. So we'll be making contact with those people all here in the next probably month or so to get that ball rolling on both easements and rerouting of anything that's on private property. But as far as the rest of it, it's mainly going in like Northwest First Street, which is a big wide street. We'll be along that or out in the grass along the edge of that. And then down First Street here as well. And then we get up to Sheridan Street and we'll go up Sheridan Street and north of the railroad bridge, just a little ways up there. So mainly in the street. Then the lining will happen down basically on a trail that had been created. Not the walking trail, but a trail just for the sewer maintenance. And so that'll be kind of out of sight down there, but the rest of it, we're working to make it as shallow as possible because there is a lot of rock up in this area, but which will slow things a little bit. But the shallower we can make it, the cheaper it will be, and the quicker they'll be able to get through there. So the good thing is that there is, for the most part, wide right of ways with lots of room to work in those areas.
I guess to reiterate what you said again, we're looking at bids at the end of the year, November, December, closing on that contract, and then construction happening through 2021, finishing up in early 2022.
Correct. Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions of Elijah?
I have one. Elijah, have you noticed any large utility relocations that are required?
No, we did a walkthrough last week with the consultant and looked at first, how can we shift things to minimize any kind of utility conflict. There's a few utilities, I think both gas and water, that we're close to in a couple areas. We're going to reach out to them and verify utility locations, and some of it's up there on Sheridan in Rock, and so we just want to make sure, before we start ripping in Rock, and that can be a kind of a dynamic situation where you have a lot of vibration and things like that. We want to make sure we're far enough away that everybody's protected, and nearby utilities aren't going to be damaged by any of that. So I don't think there's anything major. There may be a few minor areas with some relocation, but for the most part, I think we've been able to shift our sewer location such that it's not going to require relocation for the most part.
Are there any other questions? Can we tell if anyone from the public has come on? I don't think we have any new. Anybody new?
No, just Denise and Jeff, no public.
Okay.
If I am hearing no other comments, then I will close the public hearing. And we will move on to our agenda, the rest of our agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item of business is the approval of minutes from June 9th of 2020.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi.
motion to approve the minutes from June 9th, 2020 as presented.
Sue, can you hear me?
Yes,
We were gonna, do you want to table that?
Well, I'm sorry.
Do you want to table it or?
No, I just wanted to make sure you have to close the hearing, the public hearing. You have to say that. So
Okay, I thought I had, but I'll state it again then, okay? Other than just to say we're closing the public hearing and moving on to our agenda items.
Yes.
Do we need a motion or anything to close the public hearing?
Yes.
I'll make a
Yes.
motion to approve the public hearing.
A second?
There's been a motion and a second to approve the closing of the public hearing on the West Side Interceptor Basin Improvements Preliminary Engineering Report. All in favor, or I guess Jess will call the roll.
Mon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to the approval of minute, or do I need to open the Board of Commissioners meeting? Richmond Sanitary District Board of Commissioners meeting is open. It is 10:27 a.m. on June 23rd. The next item of business is approval of the minutes from the June 9th of 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from June 9th, 2020 as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the June 9th, 2020 meeting as presented. Any comments or corrections?
I guess there is a correction. Walt has a comment.
On
Okay,
the people present on it lists G 101.3, and that's a mistake because they were not here. And that's also going to be on our sanitary, our stormwater minutes. So we should approve those with the deletion of G 103, G 101.3. That's a second paragraph, second line.
okay.
So I'll make an amended motion to approve the minutes with the removal of G 101.3 as one of the listed attendees.
I will second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the June 9th, 2020 meeting as presented with the amendment or correction to remove and G 101.3 in the second paragraph as those physically present. Jess, will you call the order?
Mon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. The next item of business is approval of invoices from check date May 22nd and May 29th of 2020.
President Miller,
Is Mr. Steens?
make a motion to approve the invoices for check date run May 22nd and 29th, 2020, totaling $269,819.25. We had two significant invoices. First from Merrill Brothers Incorporated, $147,024.45, and Cummins Electric, $25,200.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve invoices from check date May 22nd and 29th of 2020, totaling $269,819.25. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Jess, will you call the roll, please?
Mon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. The next item of business is the director's report. Pat, do you have anything to present today?
Yes, Madam President, Board, I have a couple little things. One, the district began its reopening process post-COVID-19 on June 15th. We reopened to the public and we brought back 50% of our staff working remotely. And then on yesterday, the 22nd, we brought the other 50% back. It seems successful right now. And hopefully COVID cooperates and we can stay open. We do have the high-risk personnel are still off and not set to come back until July 6th. But at that point, we'll be back completely to business as usual with social distancing and capacity rules in place. The other thing I had to talk about is the city has partnered with Baker Tilly to conduct a compensation evaluation, and we had our kickoff meeting for that yesterday afternoon. And I'm excited about that process and that project. I know that it goes out to all the city employees for their meeting and kind of an overview and to kind of go over the process this coming Friday. And that's all I have.
As far as our ratepayers who may be coming down to pay their bills in person, or people wanting to set up connections, are masks required? Is there any special information for that? I know that our administrative personnel there have the screens.
Yeah, we're screening everyone that comes into the administration building gets screened, and we do have masks available for the public if they wish to wear them. Our staff does wear masks unless there's a health condition that doesn't require them to, but yes.
Okay, any other questions of Pat? No, thank you. The next item of business is the yearly contract with Donald R. Fry for the Cubic software and support. Often Denise speaks to that.
Yeah, do you have, are you able to unmute her? I don't see an option to.
Let me try. Oh, she is
Oh.
unmuted. Okay. Well, we don't hear her. Denise?
She must be having issues.
Okay.
I can talk to it.
That's fine.
Sue,
Okay, go ahead. Well, yeah, and I know this has been an annual thing, so go
this,
ahead.
with Donald R. Fry Company, it's for our software, for our billing, and for a lot of our cubic billing that we have for the sanitary district. This is a yearly contract that comes up. It's the increase. It's like a 1.8% increase over last year, and things have gone smoothly with this. So far as I know, I don't think there've been any problems whatsoever. So it's a sole source bid. It's the only provider that we can get for this type of project.
Okay. Any other questions, or I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion for recommendation to approve yearly contract with Donald R. Fry for Cubic software and support as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the yearly contract with Donald R. Fry for Cubic software and support as presented. Any other further questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll, please?
Come on,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve wastewater residuals permit number R-DDS-2020, 21, 22, and 23 for Dudas Septic.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Scenes?
make a motion to approve wastewater residuals disposal permits. Permit number R-DDS-2020, 21, 22, and 23 with Josh Duggar of Dudas Septic, 4445 East County Road, 425 North, Moreland, Indiana, 47360. The permit shall become effective June 23rd, 2020 and expire May 1st, 2023.
Aye, second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve permit wastewater residuals disposal permit R-DDS-2020, 21, 22, and 23 to Josh Duggar of Dudas Septic, 4445 East County Road, 425 North, Moreland, Indiana, 47360, becoming effective June 23rd, 2020, and expiring on May 1st, 2023. Any further questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll?
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Motion carries. The next item of business is the approval of permit number R-R0S-2020, 21, and 22 for United Rentals.
President Millard,
Yes, Mr. Steve?
make a motion to approve wastewater residuals disposal permits number R-ROS 2020, 21, and 22 with United Rentals of North America. DBA is Reliable On-Site Services, 791 East 64th Avenue, Denver, Colorado, 80229. Permit shall become effective June 23rd, 2020 and expire June 31st, 2022.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve permit number R-R0S-2020, 21, and 22 to United Rentals North America, DBA Reliable On-Site Services of 791 East 64th Avenue, Denver, Colorado, 80229. It will become effective June 23rd, 2020 and expire on July 31st, 2022. Any further questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
And the permit is approved as presented. The next item of business is a permit number R-HPF 2020, 21, 22, and 23 to Heartland Pet Food Manufacturing LLC.
President Millard,
Yes, Mr. Stevens?
motion to approve wastewater residuals disposal permits numbers R-HPF 2020, 21, 22, 23 with Heartland Pet Foods Manufacturing LLC, 4748 Industries Road, Richmond, Indiana, 47374. Permit shall become effective June 23rd of 2020 and expire June 23rd of 2023.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve a wastewater residuals disposal permit R-HPF 2020, 21, 22, and 23. Heartland Pet Food Manufacturing LLC of 4748 Industries Road, Richmond, Indiana, 47374, becoming effective on June 23rd, 2020, and expiring on June 23rd, 2023. Any further questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Permit has been approved as presented. The next item of business is Resolution 4-2020. Elijah, do you want to, are you speaking to this one?
Yes. So this is a similar to what we've done in the past. SRF needs an authorized representative for any kind of documentation and the application for the loan. So this resolution authorizes our board president, Sue Miller, to sign on behalf of the sanitary district documentation or documents that are needed for SRF and Indiana Finance Authority. Emily Palmer is actually also an authorized representative. She can sign a lot of the documents as well. But we'll have both this resolution and one in the stormwater meeting that basically does the same thing. So the sanitary board is the one that's actually applying for it, but when we go for the financing is guaranteed by both the sanitary and the stormwater board. So there are monies on both sides that could be used for this. So that's why there's one on both sides. But so it'd be my recommendation to approve resolution 4-2020.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Boxey?
Motion for recommendation to approve resolution 4-2020, the SRF authorized signatory resolution as presented.
Second.
I think there was a second. There's motion and a second to approve resolution 4-2020, the signatory authorization for SRF funding. Any further questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Resolution 4-2020 has been approved. The next item of business is approve resolution 5-2020.
Yeah, so this resolution is also dealing with the SRF loan application for the West Side Interceptor Basin project. And this one basically just accepts the preliminary engineering report and allows that to be submitted to SRF.
And can I speak here?
Yes.
It's also that there were no objections presented to the report. That's part of the resolution that Elijah's put in.
Okay, so do we need to make that as part of our motion, or are we just make? Oh, I see. We're at the last. Okay. Okay. So what you're saying is that the resolution 5-2020, it just recognizes that we have the preliminary engineering report. It was presented at our public hearing today, and at this point there have been no objections to the recommended project in the PER. But then I think, as Elijah said, he has 5 more days that there
Correct. So if
could
we
be
get
comment.
any kind of response, I'll bring those back to the board so they're
Okay.
aware, and if we need to amend anything, we can.
Okay. But at this point in time, based upon the public hearing today, there was no objection, and we can go ahead and continue to move the project forward. Is there a motion?
President Clark,
Yes, Mr. Steens?
make a motion to approve resolution 5-2020, SRF loan program for acceptance resolution as presented.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve resolution 5-2020 SRF loan program per acceptance resolution. Is there any further questions or comments? There are none. Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
The resolution 5-2020 has been approved as presented. Thank you. That takes us to the project status update.
Yes, just a few updates on that. The first one, it's not highlighted, but our Northwest 13th Street Interceptor siphon work is scheduled now to start July 6th. So hopefully that date holds and we'll get that done. It won't take long once they're here, but hopefully you can get that one started. Project 3 is our treatment plant project. Still receiving submittals on equipment. As you can imagine, there's a lot of it. Crews have been digging for the aeration splitter vault, which is the major excavation associated with this project. They've been doing utility relocations. They've got 3 aeration tanks that are drained, and 1 final clarifier is down, the final clarifier trough. The new concrete has been poured for most all of that. So they're moving forward with that. I think a lot of the equipment for the final clarifier has now been delivered. So we're excited to get that one up and running here in the next couple months. They'll begin assembling all the guts to it and putting that back together. The next projects are our thickening project. The punch list items are mostly all completed. There are just a few minor ones left. And so we are working to get that scheduled and finished up here soon. The grading and railing improvement project, the contractor's been on site and started some of that work, so they'll be back here in another couple of days to continue on with that. But that one has begun, and we've also started some design work on phase 3 in order to bid that here later this year and get phase 3 underway as well. And then West Side Interceptor project, which we just went through, but we have received the 50% plans. As I stated earlier, we did a walkthrough of the project site, look for constructability type issues and utility conflicts, and just got a good feel for where everything is going to go, and to try to make any kind of modifications we can to make things smoother at this point. And we've been working with SRF, just some normal correspondence. They've had asked for a few things, asked some questions, and we've been responding to that along with our consultant. And that's all I have, I think, for an update on project status, unless anybody has any questions.
I have a question on Elijah.
Yeah.
Where are we at on the College Avenue sewer separation? You got the notice to proceed, get ready to go out to Milestone here in about 2 weeks.
Gotcha. Yeah, we still we've got 3 alternatives basically designed, and we are working with the contractor to finalize exactly which one that we're going to go with, and then we'll be able to move forward with construction here soon. They've been out of town, so we've not been able to meet on site, but hopefully here later this week. We've been kind of waiting for a rain day for them to get pulled off to make some of those calls, but we're moving forward with that and should be ready. We just asked that, I think I'd said this before, that one be done as late as possible to give us time. So
Thank you.
And I have one question, and I should have probably done it earlier in the when you were giving your West Side Interceptor project.
Mhm.
I noticed that you mentioned at the outset of it that part of the program obviously is the minimization of the overflows. Are any of those currently in the part of the sewer, the system there, that will be abandoned?
Yes. So up on that north end, basically where the trying to think where it splits and we go, it's just north of Main Street, I guess. So yeah, some of that will be abandoned and moved away, so that sewer will now have that additional capacity needed to get it over to the East Side Interceptor without overflowing.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions of Elijah? If not, thank you. And that takes us to miscellaneous. Did anyone have anything to bring before the board today under miscellaneous?
I did. I just wanted to revisit the scheduling of the budget meeting and see if we wanted to finalize a date and get that kind of officially on the calendar. I know Sue had mentioned the 18th, and that is not a regular meeting. I'm fine with meeting on the 18th. Or we could do the 25th, but I believe that we did settle on the 25th, 26th, and 27th for the committee of the whole with council. So that would be, that would make the meeting the same day as committee of the whole.
Yeah, I think I initially had said the 18th, thinking it was our normal meeting day, and then realized later. So we do have some flexibility there. I think we commonly do go on a different day than a meeting day. So maybe if I don't know who has the tightest schedule, but possibly send out would sometime during the week of the 17th to the 21st of August work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So if we look at a time in there, I think maybe Amon may be the, maybe be the one on the tightest schedule. I know you have a lot of other meetings. If you want to check your calendar for that week and send out some dates.
Um, just looking at that, for me, that week is actually currently open.
Okay,
It's kind of before and after that where things kind of get busy. So that week would be open for me to whatever works best for everyone
Okay.
else.
okay.
So just let me know and I can make that work.
And I think,
That sounds good.
okay, and I think a lot of times maybe first thing in the morning rather than our typical mid-morning time works better for people. So,
Okay.
you know, that would be fine with me as well, so.
Well, I will
think-
just kind of try to remember to bring it up at the next meeting and then maybe we can.
Okay,
finalize
or
it.
in between, just send out some
Okay.
emails of some dates and we can go ahead and
Sure.
then look at it and get on our
Yep.
calendar.
I'm
Thank you.
open, so you guys just let me know and we can go with that.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, if not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's been a motion to adjourn and a second. Jessica, would you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, we are adjourned and we will reconvene for a sanitary district stormwater management board meeting. Turn it over to Greg.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the June 23rd, 2020 Stormwater Management Board meeting. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes from June 9th, 2020.
That will need the same correction with G1113.
Yeah. For President Steens, I'd like
Yes.
to make a motion to approve the minutes from June 9th, 2020 with the amendment of removing G101.3 as one of the attendees at the meeting.
Oh, I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes, the amended minutes for June 9th, 2020 as presented. Call the roll, please.
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next on the agenda is the approval of invoices for check date run June 5th and 12th of 2020.
President Steens,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion that we approve invoices from check dates June 5th and 12th of 2020. They total $932.64.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve invoices for check date run June 5th and 12th of 2020 totaling $932.64. Jesse, will you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next on the agenda is the recommendation to approve resolution 1-2020. This is the SRF authorized signature resolution.
Yes, Mr. President, Board, this is the same as, and this is sanitary board, but because funds are being pledged both on the stormwater and sanitary side, we need this here as well. So this just resolves that Sue Miller, President of the Richmond Sanitary Board and member of this board, be the authorized representative for this SRF application and loan.
Thank you. Have a motion, please.
I'd like to
Go ahead.
make a motion for recommendation to approve resolution 1-2020, which is the SRF authorized signatory resolution as presented.
And I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 1-2020. This is the SRF authorized signature resolution. Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next on the agenda is the project status update.
And I don't really have any additional ones. I could talk just, I guess, about the levy briefly. We're started on design of that, but nothing new or major update you on at this meeting.
Elijah, have we had any rain events, significant rain events to see that the work that you guys did in the depot area has been affected?
Not really. We've not had anything that's large enough that would be able to determine whether or not it's been, we've seen improvement or not yet.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Any miscellaneous? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
So moved.
A second?
A motion and a second to adjourn. Jessica, can you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
we're adjourned.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you.
We'll try to rush. You get a bonus. I get a bonus, yeah.